Today we're going to show you a few methods of demonstrating the UC Whiteboard on a system with two 42-inch monitors. What I've got here is a monitor on the left is a main monitor, and the monitor on the right is my content monitor doing preview. In order to start my whiteboard, what I do is I'll take my stylus or pen and I'll touch it to the surface on the content monitor as I just did now. And what happens is you'll see a whiteboard. To start, if you've never used the whiteboard before, you may want to calibrate it first. Let me show you how to do that. You press the button on top of the sensor, as I'm doing here. What you'll see is a calibration screen. So I'll touch every one of these crosshair points as I'm doing here. Touch the middle of the crosshair, and as you do, the crosshair becomes green. So I'll do 9 of these. This is number 4, number 5, number 6, 7, 8, and 9. You want to get it right in the center so it's calibrated properly across the whole surface. And now we've got a whiteboard or a blackboard. I can choose between a whiteboard or a blackboard. Okay? So let me show you how this is connected to the HDX. I'm going to make a drawing. I'll use my drawing surface to show you how it's all connected. What I've got an HDX. Okay. And I've also got a content monitor here. So I'll draw the content monitor white, just like a whiteboard. Okay. The HDX has a USB port, and my USB port is connected directly to this sensor on the top, as you see here. Let me draw the sensor in blue. So I've got a sensor here which senses the position of this pen. So as I move my pen across the surface or as I touch the surface, the pen is activated and sends position information to this sensor. Okay. There's no PC involved here, no computer, so all I did was touch the surface and annotation began. This is my pen. I'll draw my pen in green. Now whatever I draw here happens on the other side. It could be one site or it could be many sites. So this also works in a multi-point call. And you also notice that you can use it out of a call. So as I draw a wiggle over here, on this surface, it also wiggles everywhere else. The other thing you can do for a demonstration is you can pre-make a demo beforehand by calling an RSS, make a recording. The RSS will record the people, that's you, and your content on 2 separate streams or in the same stream, and now you have a recording of a complete demonstration via the RSS. This is quite a powerful tool. So you see here I've used colors here. If I make a mistake, this line is yellow, I can use the eraser right here and draw the line again in a different color. You've got a trash can here, which if you want to take away all the annotation, you can do that. And I can also select a whiteboard. Whiteboard is sometimes good when you have a giant whiteboard like you do in a conference room that has a normal whiteboard. Right now we're using a monitor. Another method of demonstrating is via a whiteboard, as we'll show you a little bit later. So an effective way of showing the whiteboard or blackboard, I'll do blackboard here because that looks very nice on the monitor, is to use all the colors. So let's say we want to talk about today's agenda. So one trick that we like to use is we'll draw in different colors. So I'll draw agenda, A, G will be in blue, E, N, D, and then back to A again. And then you can do 1, 2, 3, and so on. We'll cover 3 topics today. What you're showing here is that not only do you have color, but you can annotate in a readable format. One thing to do is if you typically write very quickly in chicken scratches like some of us do, you might want to draw slow and deliberate so that people can read what you're writing. Even though if you're not a very good writer, if you write slowly, this will come out very, very well. It does very nicely in writing print, but you can also write in cursive. So if I write more fluid, today's agenda involves lunch. You can see how fluid my writing is here, just by writing in cursive. So that makes a good demonstration. Also, when you're writing here, I mean, you could play tic-tac-toe, but make the demonstration real. So if there's a topic, if you're demonstrating to an aircraft company, draw an airplane. Or if you're demonstrating to a classroom, maybe perhaps do a geometry class or something that's relevant to the customer, not just chicken scratches and some lines like this, but it's very effective when you actually take an example from the industry that you're demonstrating to use on the whiteboard. Now I'm going to show you another way to present with a UC whiteboard. What I'm doing here is I've got people plus content IP, and I've got my computer sending content to my HDX as you normally do. Now what I can do with people plus content IP, let's go on to the next slide. I'll show you. So this is our next slide. Polycom UC Board, UC Innovations. And of course the UC Whiteboard is one of our innovations next to the Polycom Director and to the touch control tablet. Let me show you how that works. I can take my stylus, touch the presentation. What happens, the UC Whiteboard grabs the presentation and freezes it. Now the far side is seeing exactly what I'm doing here. So now I'm going to say, well, this is our Eagle Eye Director product here. I'll do that in red. And our touch control is highlighted in blue. And today we're talking about the UC Whiteboard. So now I can take an ordinary presentation, I can annotate on top of it, freeze it, lock it, write on it. Another thing you may want to demonstrate is the ability to annotate over live content. So suppose you bring in content via camera 4, as I've done here. I've got a skull here and I'm going to annotate on it. So I'm a doctor and I'm going to touch the screen as I've done here, and what will happen is my menu comes up with a whiteboard menu. I'm going to annotate here and say, let's annotate in yellow, and if we cut here, we call that a lobotomy, and if we cut here on top, we call that a latopomy. Hi, now we're going to show you a whiteboard in a regular conference room. In this room we have a whiteboard with a short throw projector, and this is an ordinary whiteboard like you have in many conference rooms. The reason for a short throw projector is so that there's no shadow when I write on the whiteboard. Okay? The whiteboard is connected, this projector is connected as your second monitor of the HDX. So this is monitor 2, and it's now showing content. So this would normally show content, or it'll be used as a whiteboard. Let me show you how it works. I'm using this electronic pen, which puts out infrared and ultrasonic, and it's located by this sensor here on my right. Okay. The HDX now projects what's on monitor 2 onto the board. And if I want to start the board, all I have to do is I touch the board, and what happens, it now converts it to an electronic whiteboard where I can draw. You have the option of doing a blackboard like this, or I can use a whiteboard by pressing the whiteboard here, and now I have a whiteboard. Depending on the kind of background or how bright or dim your room is, you can use a whiteboard or a blackboard. The advantage of using a regular whiteboard as opposed to a monitor is you can have a very, very large monitor. This is up to 120 inches here. So now you can just draw full size normally as you do on a regular whiteboard. Okay, this is a giant surface, and it's easy to write. It glides very easily on the board. And if you want to erase, you can erase all your annotation, and you can also present your PowerPoints here as we've shown you on the TV monitors. Another point I'd like to make is that this is the preferred method of demonstrating. This versus a TV monitor. What you have here is a large surface that you can draw on, and the demonstration is much more effective when you're standing in front of a whiteboard than standing in front of a 40-inch or a 50-inch monitor. So if you can, use whiteboards to demonstrate this product. Many users are very interested in saving their content or their presentations. Once they've presented here, they'd like to save them and use them later, perhaps at another time. Or they may want to take it and mail it somewhere else. Now the USB stick that I showed you earlier is now inserted in the HDX. And let's see how we use that. Okay? So if I draw here, let's say today's agenda. We're going to have lunch first. Lunch. And number 2, we're going to discuss the UC board. Okay? This is just normal annotation as you've seen earlier. Okay? If I want to save that, I press the save icon. It's immediately saved. Okay? Let me show you the thumbnails that I've got on my USB stick. So what I've got on my USB stick is a presentation about circles, but I've also inserted the agenda for the UC whiteboard. I can go back to what I've just done right here. I can actually take it, I can erase parts of it here, and spell agenda again, and agenda today. So I can actually annotate a saved JPEG that I used and annotated earlier. I can also bring up slides from a PowerPoint presentation. So if I go back to my thumbnails, I've got a presentation here about the area of circles. I'll bring up the first slide, area of circles and parts of circles. Now the other site sees what I have right here in the center. They don't see my menus. I can go to the next slide by pressing the right arrow, next slide, which was my agenda slide, and next slide, finding the area of a circle. The area of a circle is found using this formula, A equals pi r squared. Is that right? That's the formula that I'd like for you to study today to take home for your homework. So if I'm a teacher and I've got a class and I'm teaching geometry or area of circles and I teach it once a semester, I can come back, I can bring my presentation and present it every semester. I've got my slides ready to go. If I make annotations like this, I can save this slide. So what you'll notice here is when I go back to the thumbnails, let's go back to the thumbnails, and what I've saved is the same slide now with annotation. This is the slide without annotation. I go to the next slide and inserted the slide with my 2 lines under here. So I can annotate on top of slides, use it for coursework, use it for development, use it for brainstorming. However you want to use a whiteboard, you can now save it. Now if I take the USB stick back to my PC or back to my Mac, I can download the slides off of the thumb drive and I can mail them to all the participants in the meeting, which is just what most people want to do. Well, these demonstrations have shown you how to demonstrate the UC Whiteboard in several different applications. Now the thing to remember, 3 things to remember is 1, demonstrate with purpose, 2, tailor to the customer, and 3, play. We mean demonstrate with purpose. By that we mean when you write deliberately and write clearly so that the customer can see what you're writing. Number 2, tailor to the customer. So if you've got a medical application, bring up medical kinds of things, x-rays, medical records, those kinds of things. Or if you have an architecture firm, bring up houses, plans. Plans are really fun to write on. So if you've got a house plan and you want to move the toilet over to the left, show them how you can do that just with an arrow and a circle. Okay. And third, let the customer play. This is one of the most fun products that Polycom's ever made, and we like using it here locally. I think the customer, if they started playing with it, they'll probably like it and they'll probably use it. So thank you very much. Now more information is available online that you can help yourself to training videos and installation videos. Thank you so much.